religious values. So there you can see now.
Unbanned.
I found the most racist food I could find.
What is the most racist food you can find?
With Peneram. I can't disrespect my mom, man.
What are some big education issues we need to cover? People should know.
Education is also quite largely tied back to race. Me at least, because I went through because IIUM is a public university. So for Malays or Bumiputeras, it's a lot easier for us to get into public university. So we have the final examination called an SPM. So we take it when we're 17. So for example, myself, I can just apply straight away and get into a public university. Non-Malays do have access as well, but they have to take an extra year or two, I think it's 2 years, for something called an STPM. So they have to go through extra years of examination before they can enter into public universities. And STPM has actually been ranked as one of the toughest papers around, and it's quite difficult to go through and to finish. So,
although in some, I think it depends on your course though. Some of those courses you can do matrix or something and go into.
But so what happened? Yeah, it depends. But majority of the time is you take STPM, then you skip matrix. Yeah. So that's what happens. You have to do, because that's sort of like your A levels. Or O levels, and then you can enter the public universities. That's why because foreigners, they do that as well. So the foreigners, I mean for IIU, a lot of foreigners, if they do their A levels, then they can just straight enter into public universities as well. But obviously, basically the point is the less barriers for Bumiputras to go and enter into public universities. So so we have very famous universities like UITM. So that's one of the few. It's literally for Mara. Mara is mainly for Malays. There are non-Malays who enter. But again, very few, and also very few foreigners. So that they have branches all over. So but the tendency is that right now there's a growing number of non-Malays entering these public institutions because of, they've been getting good cred. Recently you have in public universities in Penang, for example, USM being one of the top universities for science and technology. used to be highly acclaimed back in the day, but it's slowly dropping. But people still go there because of prestige. It's one of the oldest universities around. But the tendency now is that everyone goes into private universities. Obviously, because they think that maybe there is some truth to it, that private universities have better quality of education because they have more funding, they can bring in better lecturers, better facilities. So So in universities, we also have so obviously if you don't have a lot of money, you go through the initial path of taking STPM and then you enter into public universities. Or you can take, for Bumiputras, you can take a loan. It's called a PTPTN loan.
Hey, non-Bumis can take PTPTN too.
Non-Bumis. Yes, sorry. Bumis can take PTPTN too.
I took a PTPTN loan.
There you go. So PTPTN, I don't know, was the rate the same when you were?
It was the same.
What was it, 8% or something? No.
No, actually, I think it came down a bit after that because a lot of people end up having PTPTN debt, and then weren't able to kind of finance their debt. And that's for
And you can't leave the country, right? Unless you've.
If you don't repay your debt regularly, you get blacklisted on your passport. And then they stop you at the airport and say you haven't paid your debt. It's happened to a couple of people I know. One of them wrongfully, he paid and then they didn't let him fly. Then he lost his plane ticket and he didn't get reimbursed. And Yeah, and then he went on like a campaign and against them and protested and occupied something. So it was ended up working for Berse and stuff. So yeah. So there's the PTPTN, and I think that's a big issue, right? So like
Yeah.
they were one of the opposition's policy mandates, and this was, I think, quite controversial because people on both sides of the spectrum were like, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Was to forgive the PTPTN, or the student loans of all of the students.
So basically it becomes more of a scholarship rather than a loan.
Yeah, they were saying like we could have free education.
Yeah.
You know, we could just pay for everything. Calculated on the oil revenue back then may not really have worked out now. And even
now,
then,
especially now.
Yeah, especially now. So this was a policy last elections, I think 2013 elections. Obviously, I think partly to get the young student vote, or the highly indebted student vote, and student debt is a big issue.
It is a big issue. No, I mean obviously it is something that we all hope for, right? To get education that is not burdening us financially, and I think that's something that we all should aim for anyway.
Yeah.
But I think there are so many feasibility questions that people didn't really iron out that it just made the forgiving the loan kind of completely preposterous, because we had to forgive the loan, but no one really knew how to kind of cover back all that money was gone. And also how to sustain the current batch of PTPTN students.
And whether it's just fair, for you to get something for free, what happens to the people who already paid before, but it does highlight like a big issue. If, like you were saying, the value of the education that you're getting is one, because I'm paying all this money and then I come out with not a very respected degree and struggle to get jobs, but I'm also saddled with huge amounts of debt. And there are tons and tons of universities. Everybody can get into university, regardless of how you graduate. The issue is which university you get, and I guess that's why, like a lot of minorities, take the STPM A levels route to get into the good universities.
Yeah, so they're willing to go through that. But a lot of people also abuse the PTPTN loan.
True.
Yeah, because they have scholarships for their parents who are funding them, because there's no check.
Yes.
There's actually no external check to check whether you are actually don't have that amount of money to sustain yourself.
Yeah.
Or whether you're receiving from other scholarships. So people apply for it. So they have two sources of funding.
Yeah.
And then so when the money comes in, they pay their bills, they pay their fees, and then they get a new phone while they're at it. And people just abuse it like nobody's business.
Yeah,
and it's insane.
It's cheap money, right?
It is cheap money, and it's insane. And it's really sad because you get, like, coming from, I don't know, because I mean this is from my perspective, because I grew up in an urban area. So urban area where everything's pretty comfortable. Like even I went to public education system in general. Like I went from primary school to secondary school, and then university was all public. So, but my public school was cool in a sense that, because we were in the urban area, so everyone, I was chilling with all my other non-Malay friends, so it was okay. I was quite well exposed. Yeah, but when I realized that all the rest from rural parts of Malaysia, and they come in, and then the appreciation for education was so much more different than how I would have appreciated, because they actually had to travel so far and come, and then they didn't have as much money as well. So, and I realized, and I felt bad. And then I felt bad because, I mean, my parents were old school, because they're still in the mentality that public education system is great, even though the quality might have deteriorated some, for over how many years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but so that's why they pushed me into going for it. Although my two younger brothers are now in private education. I know, right?
Yeah.
The audacity. But yeah, so, and then I realized, then I realized how badly some of these people need, and it really sucks, because for me, like, my grades were okay. Like, in a sense, I was lazy. So I still am. So for my SPM, I only got 6 A's. right? The others were 4Bs. Yeah,
Not
my
bad.
4Bs were like history, religious studies.
Which you
Yeah.
have to take in school. It's not
Yeah, you
an
have to
option.
take in school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bahasa Malaysia.
Yeah.
Ironic. Yeah, but all my other subjects were fine. But then I got into a public education system. But I had a family friend who had 10 A's. But it was difficult for him to get in because he was Indian.
Right.
He was Hindu. And I was sitting there and they're talking and they said, oh, Arinah got in. And then it's just like, oh, okay, yeah. How many A's did she get? Oh, 6. Okay, good. Oh, my son didn't get in, lah. He wanted, how many A's did he get? 10. And it's horrible. It's horrible because of that attachment. It was so much easier for me to get an education compared to someone. And then his family wasn't that rich. Like they're okay, you know. So, but I mean, comparatively, my family is slightly better off than his was. So, but then it was so much more difficult for him to go and get an education, and I just felt horrible. I couldn't look at him straight in the eye at that point in time because it was just so easy for me to get an education. He was still struggling. He was finding universities to accept him. He was finding money to go and fund that education, and it's such a guilt trip. It's such a guilt trip.
This always happens. It happens every year. You'll hear some case of some kid, minority kid who had excellent results,
Yes.
you know, and they won't get in. And then someone will come up. Well, I think it's happening less and less now. The government is at least aware of why it's bad for their public relations. Public
relations and also to their just talent pool.
Yeah.
So that's why they bring back institutions like Talent Corp. I mean, they created institutions like Talent Corp to bring back and keep more smart Malaysians in Malaysia.
Yeah, because we have a huge, brain drain issue.
Yeah, it's a huge brain drain. So many people leave. So many people don't come back. And then you're left with people like me.
Thank God we still have people like you.
6 A's.
Hey, it's more than just your A's. Okay.
But yeah, it's crazy. And obviously and I was also lucky speaking of public education, I was lucky in the sense that because like I said, I think this goes for any kind of public education system. It depends on your demographic.
Yep.
So I was lucky because I grew up in an urban area. So I was generally well exposed to different ideas, different races. So I actually had a culture shock when I entered into university because there was so much of one type of race.
Yeah.
There's so many Malays, and it was difficult. It was a bit of a culture shock for me because I couldn't. It was not as easy for me to converse with them or find things in common with them, just because I grew up in a different environment. Yeah, and then obviously the way teaching happens as well is different. So the ones in urban areas, the way they teach you, they make you. It's more interactive. It's I mean, obviously there's an element of telling you what to do and you do things and you don't think critically. But I think it happens less in urban areas as compared to other areas where they just spoon feed you. And I actually went for when I was going for interviews previously.
Back then,
back it wasn't that long ago. I was going for interviews and then the interviewer said, and he was a HR consultant, and then he actually told me that they did a nationwide, because obviously they have to do a recruitment and talent management, so they did a nationwide study and found that Malaysia has a serious problem of students not being able to think critically.
Shocking.
This dude's from India. Like, he's not even like local, and he's telling me that, right? No, and he's telling me, he's like, you guys have a serious problem, and I'm just like, yeah. So then that's a lot of criticism that comes from the Malaysian education system. The kids don't think critically. They're just spoon-fed. They're not taught to question things. So I said I'm lucky because I grew up in a neighborhood and in an environment where that happens a lot.
Yeah. So there is a big gap, the rural and urban divide. It's a completely different place.
It is.
Growing up, in the rural area, or completely different place growing up in the urban cities.
It is.
Most of our population now stays in the cities, but I think we still have quite a sizable rural population.
Not most of our, I think probably close to half of Malaysia are in the rural areas.
Yeah, so that's still
sorry, in the urban areas. Yeah, wait,
yeah.
Sorry. I know. I was trying to say I had it phrased differently in my head, but yeah. Anyway, you get my point.
I do.
Yeah, but it's a completely different world. So when I travel outside of, outside of urban Malaysia, and I went out to rural Malaysia, it is so easy to see how, again, politics is manipulated there, because it's just people really genuinely believe that's how the idea of Malaysia works. That's why you have all these. That's why it's easy also to play all these racial sentiments and religious sentiments, because they live really completely different. I mean, the access, the exposure, it's really different. So yeah, but it's really interesting.
Yeah. One issue of the education area that, for me is quite balanced, and I know where I stand on it, but I think like the issue of vernacular schools, should we maintain vernacular schools, because a lot of support for vernacular schools, especially among there's communities who think very communal, and we need to have our Chinese education and our Tamil education, and to some of those communities in the rural areas, that is what they speak at home and what they speak around there, and blah blah blah. But it does kind of get in the way of integration, because you spend your formative years growing up with people largely in your own communities, locked away, and you don't integrate. And then when you go to university, or if you go to university or not, then you end up just growing up in your own groups.
Yeah. My position on it is a bit weird, because I cannot give a full picture, because I'm not as attached to race that much. So that's why, for me, I loved it that I grew up in a non-vernacular school, because I can't imagine, being in a public university, it was so difficult for me to get the idea around wrap my head around a vernacular school.
Yeah.
So it was just because I was surrounded by a lot of Malays, a lot of Bumiputeras. I was just like, no, I was actually telling my friend, I need me some dose of minorities. I need to talk to some people who are of a different race.
Yeah.
So that's why I can't give a full picture, because I never felt that attachment towards race. But I completely agree, because in my school, like, they kind of realized that you needed to have these like needs catered for. So they had Tamil classes, they had Mandarin classes.
Yeah.
Already catered. It's a public school, so it's everyone's mixed together. It's not a vernacular school.
Yeah.
But they had Tamil classes, they had Mandarin classes, so the kids could choose what they want. So if they feel that it's really a necessity for them. But there are people who are of different races that enter into these vernacular schools. So there are actually quite a few. Granted, it's a vernacular school, but it doesn't really inhibit anyone from coming in. You can.
No, true.
So,
I know some people who, they have the option of going to a national school, but they would send their children to a different vernacular school, like some non-Chinese parents. I know a couple of Malay parents who send their kids to a Chinese school.
Yeah.
Because they want their kids to learn to speak Mandarin. And they think they get a higher quality of education in that Chinese school.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So
I know a few friends like that.
So sometimes, even though you put them in boxes, they will crawl out of that box and go into another box. No discipline.
But for religious studies, it's Islamic studies and moral or ethics. So,
what do you mean? Religious studies?
In school, like you have Islamic studies.
Yeah.
You don't have Christian or Hindu studies or whatever. It's just ethics.
Yeah, because you can't, there's only one official religion. The others, the opposite of that, well, not opposite, I guess, because that'd be weird. The alternative is moral education. The exams they set for moral education, you should have seen.
My friends felt their intelligence, they felt so insulted. because they're just like, what do you do when there's an old lady crossing the road with a bag of heavy? Do you help her? Do you kick her down? Like, obviously, you're gonna help. You're gonna help her out. You're gonna help her out. Like, yeah.
There's some people that still fail those exams.
They're just horrible people.
But I think that may have more to do with literacy and other stuff than.
Or you're just a horrible person.
Or maybe. Last issue we should cover: gender. You want to talk about gender? We did talk a little bit about some gender stuff, so I don't know if there's anything else up your sleeves.
Unless you want to talk about transgender.
Yeah, sure. Why not? That's come up in the press.
So Malaysia became. We could be slightly proud of Malaysia recently because they overturned a court ruling on cross-dressing.
Okay.
So that's one step closer.
Yes.
Yeah, because cross-dressing was illegal previously, but now it's not. So I can dress like a man. I mean, sorry, men can dress like a woman.
Yeah, I think that's more of the issue.
I'm joking, but yeah. Anyway, so transgender rights, they're not recognized in Malaysia. It's actually under Syariah law. You can be charged for both. So under Syariah law, you can be charged and arrested for acting as a man. Or acting as a woman, like you're acting opposite of your gender, and that's something that's against Islam, and you will be arrested. And actually, for civil law, you can be charged for public indecency. So, because you can be deemed as
it's indecent.
Indecent, which is horrible. It's just what?
Yes.
Like So and UN placed Malaysia as one of the worst places to have. For a transgender to live. Yay! We make news in the right places.
I guess.
Yeah, so we have that, and a lot of the times transgender individuals, they come here, and then it's very difficult. I think this issue goes for any other country that's conservative. Be it whether it's a Islamic country or a Christian country. So it's difficult for them to get jobs. It's difficult. They can't change in their ID.
Yep. They can't change their gender and their ID. They can't change their... Bye. Say goodbye to my coworker. It's getting quite late here. I don't know why she's working so late. But you can't change your IDs. You can't change your religion in your ID as well.
Yeah, if you get arrested, they were horribly treated in prison. I mean, not that prison was a fantastic place to be in the first place.
Yeah, no, but they're particularly humiliated for their.
They are, a lot of cases where these women were forced to take off their clothes, being paraded around, being humiliated. But there is a growing trend of employing transgender individuals in Malaysia. Yeah, Bodyshop in Malaysia has been known because it has a lot of backers who are seen as more liberal. So you have Ambiga, who's also one of the spokespersons for like Bodyshop, and even Arinah Mahathir. So they support things like gender rights. So if you notice, I don't know whether this is a thing or whether it was intentional, but there are a lot of them who are working in Bodyshop. And they got a lot of flack for it because the Sisters in Islam founder as well was also like a supporter of Bodyshop as well. So you can see their flag, and then even that got a lot of flack, like Bodyshop supporting the opposition. Yeah,
this terrible liberal values.
Yeah, these liberal values. Yeah.
Yeah, they will dilute the core essence of our country.
I don't know whether it's a trend or whatever, but it just seems to me like everywhere I go, any body shop I go, that there are transgender employees more than any. Yeah, maybe I should. But it was interesting, and it was really. But they are getting. I mean, in Malaysia, although. Funnily enough, the Malaysians, I mean, at least for me, I don't think the Malaysians they don't react violently to that. If they saw a transgender individual, they will not, they won't harass you, they won't do anything. Unless they're drunk, then they'll just do about anything.
True.
So, But yeah, they won't do anything.
Yeah, it's actually quite common in our culture and our society, and
it is. It's actually very common. You can see them going shopping together with their girlfriends or guy friends, having boyfriends. It's really, really common. And some of the Malaysians, they really don't care.
Yeah, I think most of them don't care.
Some of them don't care. They really don't. Yeah, but it's still a big, but somehow, again, the religious authorities, these religious bodies, these religious policemen, they go around finding them, catching.
And it's about their legal rights, I guess. If you want to be legally recognized as the other gender, if you want
most of them end up as sex workers in Malaysia, because of the fact that they're just unable to get
legal employment.
Legal employment, yeah.
Other than in Bodyshop, okay, it seems. No.
No, it was an observation. I shop a lot. I don't know if it's like a thing.
Okay.
But you do have these liberal women and liberal personas supporting Bodyshop, and Bodyshop got quite a bit of flack at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sisters in Islam, I think, is a case study. It's a very powerful organization. They're doing some amazing work.
Yes, it is.
Reframe the understanding and perspective, not just of women, but of like Islam.
Islam, yeah. So Sisters in Islam have been doing a great job, but I think a lot of people feel that they're so aggressive in terms of their approach. But they're also
hardly aggressive.
They question a lot of things. They question about women and Islam. I think there was a huge debate because Sisters in Islam came up and just I don't need to wear the hijab.
Yeah.
And then people were just like, what?
Yeah, what?
No way.
Yeah. But I think they're cool also because they've got all these different perspectives, right? They've got you can still be a feminist and wear the hijab. You can still, but also the other hand, there are women who don't, and then they've got the whole kind of spectrum.
Yeah, Malaysia has slowly also, I think Malaysia has sort of a love-hate relationship. The Malaysian government has a sort of a love-hate relationship because they published a book. What was it called? Wait, I have the book. Muslim Women and the Challenge of Islamic Extremism.
Show us the book. Do you have the book? Not that I don't believe we have the book.
So the book was banned.
What?
Yeah, it was banned because they thought, they had very unreligious values. So there you can see now. So I went to the book launching. So
nice.
And then it was really good. You had prominent figures like Malik Imtiaz, who was there, Arinah, and they're all talking about Islam and extremism. So it was really good. So Malaysia unbanned the book when they went through it, and then they found out, wait, there's nothing wrong with the book.
Yeah.
So it was just hype. So they unbanned it and they had the launching and it was awesome. I haven't finished it yet, so I'll let you know once I have.
Let me know what you think now. Pick up a copy when I'm back.
Yes, but yeah. So Malaysia has a love-hate relationship. That's a cool and weird thing about Malaysia. They're so annoying, but at the same time they let you exist. Like they don't shut down Sisters in Islam. They don't. I mean, they let groups I think it's cool because not a lot of countries have that. They don't let groups like this exist within the country, despite the opposition. That's why I say it's a love-hate relationship kind of thing. So there's so much drama and so, but they let you exist because they do recognize there's no legitimate reason for me to shut you down.
Although that's not stopped them legitimacy. We were talking about tradition.
Big step.
Yeah.